before we get into this conversation, do you want to each take a minute to introduce yourselves to the Yesh Tikva community?
It's a little bit hard to hear. 1 second.
I can start while Lisa's doing that. So I'm Mark Leondires. I'm a reproductive endocrinologist. Been in the New York metro area for 20 plus years, and you know, the majority of my patients are moving towards family building through donor conception. I also, you know, my own family is built through donor conception, and Lisa came to me about 3 or 4 years ago and said, you know, there's nothing out there that talks about this pathway to parenthood. Will you do this with me? And I'm so glad she did, because I'm really proud of it, and I hopefully it helps a lot of people, and that's kind of my passion in life, to help people.
That's amazing. And it actually took away the first question I was going to ask, is what inspired this book, but that's a beautiful inspiration to want to help others and to put content out there that is so needed and doesn't yet exist. So thank you. And Lisa, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm a therapist and a researcher, and I have a podcast called Donor Conception Conversations, which will be changing in January to reflect the name of our book. Okay. And I see patients within my group, the Center for Family Building. We've got lots of resources there, all kinds of things for patients to access, to help them educate themselves. And, you know, Dr. Leondires and I feel similarly that we were able to create a lot of interesting programs at Infertility and helped a lot of people, and we really want a lot of these messages that we feel need to be out there to get out there on a, you know, on a wider plane. So we have this book now, and hopefully it will get into more hands, and there'll be even more good information out there to help people.
Amazing. I know that we're going to take just a couple minutes to talk about a book that has so much more content than the 10 minutes that we're going to be speaking here today together. But if you could pick out one message from the book that you would say is the most important or the most helpful piece of advice that you wish that the clients that you are working with or those who are just starting out start with that piece of information, what is that piece of advice that you would empower these individuals with?
Well, we do give a talk on one of the pieces of our book called 5 Steps to Choosing a Donor, because we both feel that very often it's an anxiety-filled process, and people very often choose the donor with their heart instead of using their heart and their mind. Mm-hmm. And so we've kind of turned the narrative upside down to try to help people understand how to choose the healthiest donor for their child. And that's difficult for a lot of people, and particularly, you know, in the Jewish community, a lot of people use known donors, and so at least a lot of the patients that I've worked with. And so it's a whole different process, of course, but it still needs to be something to kind of think about when you're moving forward. It's not, even though it feels like an emotional process, and it is, it's also a process of trying to have the healthiest baby possible.
For sure.
I want to add one thing there. I think that the most important part about the book is, if you want to have a family, you need the help of donor conception. It is doable. There's resources. It is a little anxiety provoking, but there's a lot of talented people out there that can help you through it. And you likely will have the best success rate out of anybody in any fertility practice, because you're kind of able to optimize things, and you'll be able to exercise some choice on, you know, who the genetics of your child are, as well as making sure that person is aware of their commitment to you and your future family.
And such a beautiful and important point. And it's so incredible how far modern medicine has grown in these years since fertility treatments have become a option in growing one's family, and how those I remember, Lisa, the first time we ever spoke, you shared this very important question in a live that we were talking about, is that every person needs to ask themselves, what is my goal on this? What's that end point that I'm trying to get to? Is it the biological child? or is it, or sorry, the genetically related child, or is it being called mom? And sitting with yourself and asking that question. I remember how impactful that was when you shared it then. And I think that framing it in this space is that if that end goal is being called mom and you're open to the different options, this is such a wonderful resource to help guide you along that journey of contemplating and discovering the many additional options that exist beyond a genetically related child. So thank you for this.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you know, lots of people approach their doctor's office and they have their first appointment with their doctor, and it's kind of like a, you know, like a Charlie Brown movie, right? They just hear wow, 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 right? Because they're so nervous about their fertility, and they're so nervous about not getting pregnant, and what's it going to cost, and what kind of medications are they going to use, and they can't even think straight. And who remembers their 10th grade biology class anyway, right? So we kind of lay this all out so someone can sit at home and look through this and really educate themselves about the process in an easy way to digest and get some help. And we also have stress reduction tips in there as well.
Amazing. And I know that in order to make this decision, there are a lot of, there's phases within this journey that one must mourn. Is there advice that you would give an individual and or a couple who are contemplating donor conception of what does it mean to be ready to now pursue this as an option? Because many individuals are not going into, some are, but there are many who are not going into the fertility clinic saying, to begin with, I am going to pursue donor conception to grow my family, which means that they pursued other means of trying to get pregnant and other dreams that were shattered in this journey towards a future of light and happiness, but there's mourning that's occurring along that process.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very hard, and I think Dr. Leondires is in a tough spot because people probably come in and say, well, my girlfriend got pregnant at 50, and so did Janet Jackson, and why can't you get me pregnant, right? It's a tough place to be in, and especially, you know, you have all sorts of stories, right? You have single parents, you have queer couples, you have people who are transitioning, you have people in all different stages of this process and for different reasons needing to use donor conception.
Right.
I mean, Lisa already touched on it, but there are times that at the start of my consult, sadly, I already know where this is going because perhaps they come with records and the patient is not ready for it. And but you already said it, you know, that you have to have them kind of categorize, I want to be a parent.
Right.
And I'm going to prioritize that. But absolutely, there's grief and mourning. I've stood up in a public forum and say nobody ever wants to go see their fertility doctor, and it's still true.
Yeah.
And when you flip that other card in, I think the internet has people ready for it, but when the expert says it, it's really tough. And I know Lisa has kind of committed her career to taking care of these people, and she's done a lot of grief and counseling and so on about this to nudge people onto a pathway to parenthood.
Yeah. And you mentioned that in the book there are some strategies. Is there one that you want to share with us, that a shorter breath work or what exercise that one could kind of keep in their back pocket? I know this is like a quick version of it and obviously not encapsulating the entire experience that one would get in reading the book. And we are going to be tagging the book with a link for individuals to be able to get the full experience of it. But for those who are listening who want to have some kind of grounding exercise to help through this process.
So one of the things I actually just posted about was that people very often will think about trying to get rid of discomfort rather than bringing good things into their life. And sometimes when you're going through this process, you're stressed, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're going through so many experiences of loss. And so it's very natural to do things to kind of try to get rid of negative feelings. And healthy ways of doing that might be exercising or yoga. And unhealthy ways might be, drinking too much or eating too much and that sort of thing. But we could also help ourselves by bringing joy into our lives, because that also elevates our mood. And it's usually not the first thing that people think about, but using that in collaboration with doing other things to release tension, putting beneficial things in your life can also be very nice. And I think that it's very natural for people to be to isolate themselves. And I know that your experience probably has been in this community to feel like that sort of thing happens, and it's hard for people to be in the Jewish community and to go to someone's house for Shabbat and feel alone inside their head with all these little kids running around, and somebody's on number 4 and you're not even on number 1 yet, and all of those difficulties. But if you can find ways to bring joy into your life in whatever way you can, it can help uplift you enough so that you can make clearer decisions about this really tough topic.
And I guess from the medical perspective, do you see a difference when your patients come in taking Lisa's advice in how you're able to work with them?
Oh, no, absolutely. If people come in and they're, whether they're, in need of mental health support or they've already gotten it, but if they're not in a good place, they can't listen. It's really hard. It's really hard to hear bad news, right? And there are times that I'm the third doctor they're speaking to, and I look at the notes, and it's been said different ways. I think that one of the things that I right, and this is a bad thing that happened, an unfortunate thing that happened. If this is not something you were prepared for, but we are experienced, and we can help you do this, and we want to partner with you in doing this. And everybody's got their own stuff in their closet that they have to deal with, and I really strongly support that. This is a loss, and you need experienced people, probably beyond your family members, to help you through it.
Definitely, and so important. And I think that putting together the practical with the mental health really connects all the pieces that one needs in order to pursue this journey. And I see the books in the background. Do you want to show us one?
Oh, sure.
Amazing.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
We're going to tag the book. It's such an important conversation. So incredible that we now have access to information to empower ourselves along this journey to get the best care possible. And we're so grateful that you took the time to come share with us. Any final thoughts that you want to leave the Yesh Tikva community with?
Well, first of all, thank you for letting us talk. I'll let Lisa speak next, but it's not a textbook.
Yes.
It's not a support group, but it's actually a little bit of everything, and within it are personal stories. So I think everybody can find some way to connect within the book, truly, it's a passion from the heart. So if you pick it up, I hope you find it helpful.
Thank you for sharing that, and that's so beautiful and so meaningful. You need all those pieces to come together to connect. So that is beautiful.
And I think also, just, for your community, I think it's also really helpful to read a lot of, Dr. Leondires' detailed information in the book about pregnancy, because it's so hard to feel disconnected, right? And to feel like this person is not part of your family. And the whole process of epigenetics, I think, and understanding that in a kind of a layman's way is very helpful. I think it's very helpful to know about known donor relationships and how that's really a possibility if done correctly. It's something that everyone, can try to do themselves, and it's happening more and more all the time. So there are a lot of options, and I think that people can look at this book and get that information in layman's terms and really sit with it and be able to try to solve some of these problems so they can get to parenthood.
So amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing all this with us. And I know that there's such a wealth of knowledge available in the book as well. So I thank you for creating this to support those and empower individuals who are pursuing donor conception and growing their families. And we'll be sure to tag both of you and the book so that it is a resource that those who need it can access.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
We're here to help.
Amazing.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you.
Anytime.
Bye-bye.
Happy to help.
Bye.